Hello, and welcome to Twin Study After Dark. I'm your host, Sally, joined by my co-host, Katie. We're identical twin sisters. We invite you to join us as we investigate our similarities and differences in all things life has to offer. Hello, and welcome to Twin Study After Dark. I'm your host, Sally.
And I'm your other host, Katie.
So today we are going to be diving into a little bit of a personal topic.
Aren't they all personal?
Yeah, they're all pretty personal. Let's be real. First of all, I just want to say we've noticed as the seasons have gone on that we look worse and worse and worse on camera.
We look so tired.
We are getting comfortable with you guys, or we are just all of a sudden just really quickly aging.
I'm positive that I want to say I don't care, but I do believe that I care less about what I look like as I get older.
Now that we're 36.
Now that we're 36.
We aren't as vain.
But I do sometimes look at my videos and I'm like, oh my God, I have such big circles under my eyes. And I'm just like, well, of course you do. You wake up 3 times a night.
I just was like, the old videos we would record, I feel like I look so good. And I'm kind of blaming it on the short hair. Like I'm thinking I should never have short hair ever again. But also, yeah, maybe this is just what happens at 36. You just get a rapid decline.
No, I also think though that
we used to put more.
I like your short hair, but I do think you look better with long hair.
I know. I don't know what I was thinking.
You were sticking it to the man.
Yeah, I was making a statement that what was I making a statement about? I said it when I cut it. I was like, fuck gender.
I don't know.
Something about how guys always like long hair, because every guy I've dated is like, I love you with long hair. And then I was just having a moment. I was like, fuck that.
You were like, I don't need to exist for the male gaze.
Yes, that's what I was going through. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm a little out of it because I just took a freaking 3-hour nap. I'm not even kidding. My kids had like a nighttime birthday last night, and it was like a strobe light, glow in the dark trampoline place, and it was until 11 o'clock at night, and it was amazing. It was so fun, but I'm not used to staying up, and I was dying today. So our neighbors have our older kids, and the twins were down, so I was like, I'm gonna take a nap, and now I'm sleepy.
Noise.
I'm waking up.
Yeah, I'm just tired because it's just been a terrible week.
If we didn't care so much about our children's privacy, there'd be so many stories from this week.
Oh my God.
It was a rough one.
It was a very rough week for my son.
The Gibbs house.
And I am so happy it's over. But I can't even get into it, guys. I'm struggling.
One day when it's a little further away and not so sensitive of a subject, we'll talk about it. But we're having some behavior issues.
Totally.
So anyway, I was thinking about talking about our behaviors today and talking about people pleasers, which is kind of a hot topic out there right now. I think a lot of people and millennials in particular, are kind of coming to the realization they've been people pleasers, or they are people pleasers, or they're in people pleaser recovery, like myself and my husband. And honestly, I think it's so
common. It's actually pretty unique to not be a people pleaser.
No, I don't think the generation after us are people pleasers.
Oh, I think that they are more comfortable.
Yeah, no, I don't think the boomers are either. I think the millennials are the people pleasers.
Yeah, I wonder what that's about. We should have done some research on this.
I don't know what it is. We were just raised to want to make our parents proud and happy.
I think we were raised to not inconvenience others. So it was like, if somebody offers you food, you eat it no matter what. Or if somebody...
But I would assume boomers were raised that way too. So
yeah, I mean, but also too, and I'm thinking about when you walk past a stranger, we were raised always smile and say hi.
Oh, okay. So anyway, my question today was something along the lines of, do you think that people pleasers are the worst people in the world? No, I'm just kidding. But I know we've both been people pleasers, so I don't know if it's so much of a debate, but we can kind of talk about some of those damaging things we were doing as people pleasers, and kind of look into those, because I think that's a conversation to be had. And now that we are trying to not be as much of people pleasers and listen to our own intuition and gut with things, and put ourselves first sometimes, I think that we need to talk about that.
Yes. Okay. Well, do you think, I guess, because I think we both have been people pleasers, and I do think there are times when I maybe still do it.
I have a story that happened recently
Yeah.
where I noticed how I was being a people pleaser. And this one, okay, so you kind of know the story already. But the
Mhm.
other day when I was at the park, there was a creepy guy who was I was there with the twins. And there
Right.
was a creepy guy that parked at the park. And the park that I go to with the twins that I don't go to anymore because now I'm freaked out. But it's surrounded by woods. It's pretty isolated, but that's kind of why I like it. It's really beautiful. Anyway, there was a guy that parked at the corner of the park. And I noticed that he parked near us, but he backed in and he was just sitting in his car. So I was like, maybe he's going to go on a walk around the park because there's some paths or whatever.
Mhm.
But my twins were running around chasing squirrels, and we ran a little closer to his car, like maybe 100 yards away. And he opened the door and he had two lollipops in his hands. And he said, "Hey, do your kids like these? Do they want these?" Like literally like what like we're taught not to engage with as
Right.
children.
Like, do not accept
And
candy from
I don't mean to
strangers.
be mean, but he was like bald with like a fleece flannel jacket. Like he looked like somebody who would kidnap
He
someone. I
looks
don't
like a predator.
Yeah, like it was terrible. So then I was like, "Oh no, 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 thank you." And I kind of steered him
Mhm.
closer to the other side of the park. And then he said he called out again and he was standing by his truck. He's like, "Oh, just come here. Come get them. They can eat them later." And I was like, "No, no, thank you." And then I like smiled and then went and scooped the twins up and I got in our car, locked it right away, and then put them in their seats. And I called the police non-emergency number and I just told them, which that's another conversation. All girls should know brands of cars because I could look at his car and know it was like a Chrysler, but I was like, girls should know every brand at the very least
Also,
because all I could say was, "Oh, it was a silver SUV. I'm sorry, I don't know cars." So go learn your cars, ladies. But anyway, I was thinking when I got home that night, I was still smiling and being polite to this guy who totally creeped me the fuck out. Like, if that's
yeah.
not people pleasing tendencies, because I didn't want to be rude.
Well, and that's the thing is like it's really a fine line. Like I also don't want to be rude, but I do think I've gotten to a place where I'm like people don't deserve my kindness. Like you can't automatically assume that like a stranger offering your child candy deserves or like he doesn't deserve a smile. He can get like frowned
And it
upon.
was so creepy because he stayed right by his car with his door open and like he wanted me to come there to get it. Like he wasn't,
Yeah.
and even when he asked the second time, he stayed in the same location. And my next door neighbor is a police officer and he's like, "Did you get a picture of the car?" And I did, but he's like, "But this doesn't have the license plate on it." He's like, "He backed in. This is so typical sketchy guys. They back in. That's easier to get out. You can't see the license plate." He was like, "You absolutely needed to report this because he said that predators are everywhere." Like he was
Yeah,
like, "They're literally everywhere."
for sure.
And so he said now that it's on record, like if it happens again, they'll be like more alert to it.
Mhm.
Um, but I really was bummed at myself because I was like, man, I was really nice and it gave me that gut instinct that was like, "Ew, this doesn't feel good." But I feel like because we are taught to be so like polite and kind to everyone, and I think in the past I would even be polite and kind to people who were treating me badly
Yeah.
because I was taught, you be nice, you be kind, and that's so fucked up.
I definitely feel like I'm in a phase. Maybe I don't think it's a phase. Maybe it's just I've evolved to this point where I don't appreciate fake kindness at all. Like
Hmm.
if I sense that somebody is just kind of putting on an act, I'm like it's so unnecessary. Like I don't need it. I don't need to be around it. I don't like seeing it. Like I want people to be straight shooters and real and I think that sometimes when I do worry, like, am I going to get beat up for this? Or is somebody
Okay,
going to,
so I was telling the people I work out about this, and
yeah,
they're like, some of the girls were like, "Thank God you were nice to him because you always hear those stories about the one that talks back and then he targets them."
yeah.
But I was just like, "Oh, I didn't even think of that." But
Hmm.
how fucked up? Like,
Well, I feel like that's kind of like sometimes I do speak my mind, and then I have to think later, like, oh, thank God they didn't take a gun out or something, because
Yeah.
it's open carry in Florida.
We can be super opinionated, but when I'm sober with the children, like I'm gonna be polite, probably in front of
Well, you
people.
also had to do what was best for them, like
Yeah,
just get out of the situation.
yeah. No,
Um,
like in our younger years, I feel like I would be vocal if I was drinking or something like that.
yeah.
But no, I've always been a people pleaser, and I feel like because I didn't want to make waves in any situation. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just wanted to like keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've come a long way. So can you think of any times in your past, like I mean, it was just a lifestyle to be a people pleaser, but
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about times when you knew you were being a people pleaser, or even like what that did to you mentally?
Yeah.
Because obviously we have both come such a long way, and we really aren't like we used to be.
I think that I mean, maybe I'm delusional, but I definitely do not identify as a people pleaser at this point in my life.
Mhm.
Uh, but when I was, and it's so interesting because I really think it starts, at least for me, it started with my relationship with my parents. Because when I went to college, I started to make choices for myself for the first time ever. And I remember being terrified of their disappointment in my actions or be my decisions. And then I date people, and it was kind of the same thing. Like I was a people pleaser to the people I would date.
Mhm.
Like I remember the first boyfriend I had, I think I was always just positive, like, and I see that a lot still. Like it was like toxic to the point of how positive I was all the time. And then when I started to like actually show my real emotions after like X amount of time of dating, he was like, "You are not the same person I started dating."
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I've had that before
where it
too.
was like, well, I was people pleasing. Like I really was like trying not to inconvenience. I guess it goes back to not wanting to inconvenience others. Like I didn't want to inconvenience him, but like same with when I think about like with mom and dad, I was so fearful of disappointing them that I wasn't even making choices that were probably true to my personality and myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And I do think that because I don't know, I honestly don't really know what caused me to say like it doesn't really matter what other people think.
I think kids, like,
Yeah.
I think becoming a parent, you start being like, I don't need to say yes all the time to specifically to like family or friends that you're constantly doing things for, or constantly like kind of putting up with in some
Mhm.
regard. I think when you have kids, it's just you're like, no, they come first. I'm not going to say yes to that, or I don't agree
It's
with that,
definitely
or
it starts that practice of like speaking up for yourself, which then
yeah,
carries over into other parts of your life.
it does. And I think it's like kind of a good excuse too, because you can blame it on the kids. No, I'm just kidding. But I
But
think
I've done that. I use my son as an excuse to get out of stuff all the time.
I mean, it's one of the advantages of having children. No.
Yeah, it definitely. I think it is.
I think I was going to be a people pleaser until I became like kind of that proud protective mom. Like I really think if we wouldn't have had kids, I might have still been in that cycle because
So, should we talk
yeah.
about like examples of people pleasing? I used to be, and this wasn't that long ago, but it was definitely before COVID. Uh, I had a coworker who really wanted me to go with her to a concealed and carry class. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And
yeah.
I didn't want. I had no interest in it. I never have liked guns. I've never wanted to carry one on me. That's just not me. My personality. Um, and people that want to do that, that's totally fine. But I'm just saying this was my people pleasing. She kept bringing it up to me like every week. She'd be like, "Oh, you need to go with me to this class. Like, let's go to this class." I don't even own a gun, so like, why do I need to go to this concealed carry class?
Why
But
did she want you to go so bad?
she just, I don't know. It's so
Like
weird.
so
It's
bizarre.
now looking back, it seems so bizarre.
Yeah.
But
Like what?
does she just not want to go by herself? I don't know.
Yeah.
And she had asked me so much, and she had like scheduled it and then rescheduled it. And like, because I was a people pleaser, I couldn't just tell her, like, no, I do not want to do this. I
Yeah.
have no interest in this. I we were in the same office building, so I saw her regularly. So like whenever she'd bring it up to me, I'd always be like, oh, interesting. Like I was trying to entertain her interest in this subject that I have no interest in.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to the class because honestly, she was very persistent about it. And now
it's not her fault. It's your fault because you gave in.
No, and I get, and that's like, that's what I'm saying is like, because I was such a people pleaser, I went against my own interests and just to accommodate her and make her feel okay and good about this.
Yeah.
And so it was always like after the fact. First off, I wasted an entire day on a weekend.
You always feel like you wasted it. Yeah.
I wasted an entire day that I could have been doing other stuff that I actually care about just because I didn't want to upset her. And in the end, I still don't have a gun, and I still would never be interested in carrying one with me. So I have this license that will never be used.
You have a license?
I had a conceal and carry license.
That's insane.
No, and like that is the weirdest thing. But this is this is like definition of people pleasing. Like, yeah, when you do stuff for other people that like doesn't even align with your personal interests.
But like that's not saying you can't do things for other people just because like it makes them happy. Like obviously, sometimes it's good to do things that make people happy. Like that's great to be like giving and all that stuff. But yeah, if it's going against your morals or literally you're just gonna not enjoy it at all, why couldn't you just tell that friend, I'm not really interested, and stay friends?
And I think that is so different than who I am now. Who I am now would just be like, no, I have no interest. Like I do not care about that. I'm not going. That's a waste of a day.
And honestly, good friends are like, okay. That just reminds me of my good friends today. Like we're all parents, but we will be planning a girls trip, and we will literally say to each other, like if someone throws out an idea, like I don't think that's going to fill my cup, can we think of something else? Just so bluntly honest, because first of all, you don't get a lot of time away from kids when you have them. So when you get it, you're like, I need to do something that's going to fill my cup. I need to do something that's going to nourish me.
Yeah.
And we are also vocal about what will make us feel good, what will make us, or if one of us still is like nursing and it's like, I can't come because, it's just going to bug me. I love that we have a friendship. We can be honest with each other, but I think we all have learned we're a safe space and we can do that. And it's good practice for other people in our lives. But really, the other people in your lives that you're afraid of disappointing, they should be able to handle you, redirecting or saying no. And when they can't, I really think, unfortunately, that is not like a dynamic that may be healthy if like you can't approach them with your feedback.
Yeah, I did have that made me think about past friends from college that I had this one friend, and we were really close. Her strengths were really, really amazing strengths, but she was very opinionated, and whenever I was so terrified of upsetting her because you didn't want to see that side of her. Like when she got mad, it really like hurt my feelings. And so I would do anything to keep her happy.
I mean, but that's people pleasing in a nutshell.
I know but that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I'd be like, you know what? I know she doesn't like Mexican food. So even though I really want chips and guac, let's go to, get Italian food. Like it was like so ridiculous that I can't believe, but I was just so, keeping the peace was so important to me at that time in my life.
I really think when you step away from people pleasing, and like I said, I think that it happens, for me it happened when I had kids. I think you really need to hit a low, like you really need to agree one too many times before you change your behavior and you're like, I can't fucking take it anymore.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Yes, because I remember when we first got adopted the twins, we were asked that Christmas to go to like a Christmas Eve mass with all four of our kids. Mind you, my kids were 4, 3, and 0 at the time. 4 of them, 4 kids. And they were both like newborn babies. The other 2, terrible age to sit still. And that was one of the first times I think we said no to the family that was inviting us. And we did get feedback about it. And it was hard to receive because we had always been so accommodating. We'd always go on with the flow.
Yeah.
But do I regret not going? Hell fucking no. It was
Yeah.
the right choice. I'm so glad we stayed home. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're for you to like put yourself in an uncomfortable position, like, oh my God, they're all gonna be crying, they're all gonna need to be fed, like it's gonna be terrible, it's late at night and we have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Like that is so inconvenient to you and your husband or whoever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even the kids. So I think, yeah, once I had kids, all of a sudden I was like, fuck no. Like you're a grown ass adult.
Yeah.
I can make decisions that are good for my family, and it shouldn't hurt your feelings that much. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mean
My
to be a bitch, but
decision,
it's true.
yeah, my decision should not impact your day. On it,
100. And if it does, you're a fucking narcissist. Like,
well,
why are you making me feel bad about this?
I do think that just piggybacking off of what that was about or that conversation, it reminded me of like now where our family comes down and they do Disney all the time. Like my parents love Disney, but now because we have like a safe family unit where we can be ourselves and like say no to certain situations, the whole family will be like, "Oh, we're going to go to the park for the day." And I'll be like, "No, I'm going to stay at the hotel." Like my family is staying at the hotel. And that seems so silly, but it took me a long time to be
To
like,
get
you
there.
don't need to go do stuff just because everybody else is doing it. If you know your child isn't going to make it through a whole day at the park and he's going to be happy and having fun if we stay at the hotel, choose what's going to work for your family.
That there's nothing worse than knowing in your gut and intuition, like, this is going to be fucking awful.
Yeah.
And then going
Oh, it's
because you're pleasing people and then it just is fucking awful. And you're just like, I knew I shouldn't have given in. Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
So like I said, I think there just was one too many times where we tried and we tried and we tried and we're just like, we need to start putting ourselves first sometimes. Me and my husband both kind of like bent over backwards for people. And I think that this is something that couples go through with each other.
Yeah.
Especially like involving friends and family and outside forces. You're probably going to hurt some feelings, or you're probably going to like upset some people when you start making boundaries or stop people pleasing. But how those people react to it, I think, is actually a really good test of who stays in your life.
Yeah.
Because when you tell people, like, I can't do this because it's just not healthy for me or I don't feel good about it, if they nag you and just say you're terrible or like you're making a bad choice, they probably should have never been in your close circle. Just recently, I told my mom and dad we were going to go, and my group of friends, we were going to go to Wisconsin in the summer. And because we went last year and we loved it. It was so amazing to get to see all my friends again and see my parents. And our older kids love going up north.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to tell my friends and my family this summer, like, Adam and I had kind of delayed buying plane tickets because our twins are at the age they're 2 and they are just the most wild children. Everyone that meets them is like they have so much energy. They are so funny, but they do not sit still. And I just told my parents, I was like, I've been kind of dreading buying tickets. I don't think I can do it. I don't think we can do it on a plane this year with 4 kids at the ages they're at. And my mom was like, yeah, that's a smart choice. I think that's good. But
Yeah.
I'm just like, I think that you just like the people that are cool with your decisions, like, yeah, they would have loved to have us, but they know what we have to go through to get there and they're understanding of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I don't even know if I want to say it gets easier once you have children, but there's just no other option. It's like you have to evolve because it's required, like for the sanity of your family.
But also, though, for the people who don't have children, for you to like have people pleasing, that's probably even harder because you don't have that crutch of being like, it's for our family. Like you have to just be like all of a sudden like, no, I'm gonna do what makes me happy and healthy. I don't know. I think most people in their 30s understand it.
Well,
But like I said,
that,
I think family is hard sometimes. Like sometimes older family members do not get it.
but you always, I feel like to become a non-people pleaser, you're always going to get to a point in your people pleasing journey where you're in a situation and you're like, I don't want to be here right now. This is not where I'm, like, and then it's after that, you're like, I need to change. So when I first started dating my current partner, I don't think there's any hiding this. He is a country boy. I did not think ever that I would end up with a country boy. But
I don't know why you think it's so far-fetched. We are from Wisconsin.
I
That is
know,
like country.
but like because I've never dated one before, probably
Because she didn't date while she lived in Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, I've
You only dated artsy city boys.
only artsy city boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just something I never did, but I'm so happy I did because he's the sweetest person I've ever met.
They say there's no love like a country boy's love.
I think that's true. I honestly think it's true. Assuming you don't get like one of those crazy psycho like abusive ones.
Oh yeah, the ones that like are always singing about drinking
and like throwing chairs off of balconies.
No, I was like mud on the truck and
yeah. Anyways, so but because I started dating him, and I wasn't used, and this was like like we've been together for over a year and a half. So and it was one of our first dates. I went to a concert with him, which was a country concert because he had picked it, and uh and we showed up to the venue, and the venue was like a country venue. I don't even know how to describe that if you've not seen one. It doesn't look like a normal venue. It looks very country. Anyways, and like I'm saying
there's like an American flag.
I guess
there.
it's
like
normal.
How is it not normal?
True, right? Like yeah, I would say very, very much so. Like lots of
You're
American
like
flags.
There was no sequins or friendship bracelets.
Yeah,
Taylor Swift didn't come out.
It wasn't a football stadium.
Okay.
It was not a stadium.
It was
concert.
like a field. Was it like on a field?
No, it was inside. But it was like
weird.
It was like, and you know what? I don't even want to describe it because everybody that's been there is probably gonna be like, she's describing it so poorly. But it had a mezzanine like that you could stand up on.
What
and
the fuck is that? What is a mezzanine?
Oh my god, Sally, it's like a balcony. Like
okay. Well, then why the fuck would you why would you use the word mezzanine?
Because
just use the word balcony.
In that setting, that's what it's called.
I think that seems too fancy for a country concert.
Anyways, yeah, right. Like what I'm describing.
The mezzanine at the country.
You're thinking like there should be like hay on the ground
and
like
I've been to country
line dancers and peanuts on the ground.
You guys know I went duck hunting one year. I dated a country boy. I dated more country boys than you have.
Oh yeah.
Yes, usually also there's hay.
That's the thing too is you would hunt. I would never go hunting, but for Sally to go hunting, people pleasing at its best because.
I would have done anything for that man.
And that's the people pleasing. Anyways,
I would have done anything.
I went to this country concert and it was like dark venue, wood. I don't even know how to describe it. It doesn't matter. It was just
stop describing that. Yeah.
So, but anyways,
picture a country concert.
We go to the concert and the first few acts, they're all like good, very talented artists. But like the women are just singing. I'm not kidding. Like their songs were so sad. Like the opening acts were so sad. It was all about like abuse and like I was like, why is country music so sad?
Really? Usually it's about like killing their husband.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't like that. But although I don't know. Anyways, so then there was a point where I'm standing on the mezzanine, also known as a balcony, and I'm staring out at the crowd, and it's just a sea of white people. And I start looking at all of the women, and they literally all look identical. Like I look identical to every other woman in that area. Like we're all wearing jeans. Like there's a lot of boots. There's like all of us have highlighted blonde hair, and I felt like
again though, like I said, cousin face.
Okay, but in that moment, I felt like this doesn't feel right. Like it just didn't feel right for me. Like, and it is what it is. I don't want to say something that I'm perceived as judgmental, but it just
because she's still kind of a people pleaser.
But like it was just I couldn't get into it, and then we went again to a different. So this was like 2 years ago. So then another country concert we went to within like the last year, we showed up, and it was actually really enjoyable. Like I've evolved to be like I can enjoy this. But then it started getting political. Like the country artists on stage started talking about politics. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, why'd they have to go ruin it? Like, I just, again, and I was very fortunate that my partner was like, let's just leave. Like he knows me well enough that I'm not feeling it. But I just think that there are times when you're in a situation and in your gut, this doesn't align with everything that I value. And if you're having those feelings, you may have made a people-pleasing decision when you agreed to go.
Yeah. No, I mean, that reminds me of when me and Adam would go to churches and they'd just be saying how like people went to hell and I mean,
Yeah, they were.
amongst other things. And we just kept like being like, okay, I guess this isn't the one for us. And we got so much crap from family members, like, I can't believe you haven't found a church, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, it's just like it never felt right. And I think a big part of that journey was us trying to make people happy. But you need to listen to your intuition. If it doesn't feel right to you, if it feels yucky, then you need to not be a people
It
pleaser and walk
really
away.
is. It's like a yucky feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you're sitting in a yucky feeling, leave.
I just think when I'm in those situations, I think about my daughter. My oldest daughter is Black, and I think, would she feel comfortable here?
Yeah.
And if my answer is no, then I'd be like, why the fuck am I here? You know, like, really, why am I here?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be
So,
part of this.
dare I talk about what happened this weekend?
I think it's great content.
Okay. So I was out of town this weekend, and
See, this is what happens when you stop being people pleasers.
yeah, you can talk about anything.
Yeah. Oh, yikes.
So I was out of town this weekend. I went to St. Augustine with my partner, and we went to a bar, and it was a karaoke bar. And honestly, it didn't have bad vibes. Like, it was an Irish pub, which usually I like. I'm obsessed with Irish pubs typically. They're fun, good places. Whiskey in a jar. Anyways, so I was watching karaoke, and also, like, I don't want to go off a tangent, but like, there's like karaoke people. Like, the people that show up to karaoke, this is like their platform. Like, they show up every week.
I haven't been to enough karaoke
Okay.
to know this. Do they really? Is it like
There's people that show
not
up.
bunko? Is it like trivia? Like, they come all the time?
I think, yes, I think people that show up to karaoke, there's always the people that just happen to be there. Like, we just happen to show up.
See, I think it's mostly like bachelorette parties.
Oh, no. Local karaoke is definitely
Okay.
some of.
So you went to some local karaoke.
We did. And I think we were really enjoying it. But then this group of like 5 people, and they were just young. I don't know how to describe them other than they were probably in their mid-20s, and they were all white. And it was a group of boys and girls. There was one girl in particular in the middle that seemed like she was enjoying it way too much. Anyways.
Well, she was in a group of all men. I
Yeah.
mean, she's like living her best life.
Totally. She definitely looked like a pick-me girl. Anyways,
oh, man, I've been there.
So I know. And they sang a song, and I don't know what it is called, but Nate knows what it's called because I asked him later, because I tried Googling it the next day and I couldn't find it.
I was so curious what song it was, because I wanted to know if you just drank a little too much whiskey.
I didn't drink whiskey, but I did drink too much.
Okay.
So, and and that's the other thing too. That's like where I felt remorse about my actions, because I knew we were at a bar and I was drinking.
My thing was like, you had a terrible week.
I just had the worst week.
It just seemed really on brand with the
week.
It
was just such a thing. It's such a Katie thing to have like a shitty week and then like hold it in all week, and then like it comes out somehow. Like, I hate that part of me. Like, I'm really trying to work on it, and I'll get there. But
it's been like a 36-year-long process.
It really has. Yeah. So, because I do feel as though I am full of rage.
You do. You are so full of rage.
I wish I wasn't, but like, and you know what, guys? I want to say before I get into the story, I did go back to therapy. So I just went back to therapy.
So don't tell her she needs therapy.
So just so everybody knows, I am a work in progress.
Yeah, she has a therapist.
I went back to therapy this week. Okay. So, because that's how bad the week was. So then this group of 5 white people, young white people, get up on the stage and they sing a song, and I don't know what it's called, but it's incredibly racist. Like, at karaoke, they have the lyrics written out for everybody to read.
Why would that even be an option?
So I could read all of the lyrics while they're singing it. And I guess if the lyrics if I couldn't read them, I probably wouldn't be like paying enough attention to like hear it all.
Okay.
But it was just like an incredibly racist song. And I was like, how is anybody sitting here enjoying this? Like, they're laughing and like they're enjoying this, and they're just like, they look so stupid, to be honest. They look stupid. So then me, because I'd been drinking, after they were done,
okay, this is so embarrassing.
It is embarrassing, but it is what it is, guys. I'm going to be real. I booed them and I said, fuck you. And, my words didn't really impact them. Like, they don't care. They carried on with their night. They had a great night. I got out my anger on them by
They probably didn't
saying,
even know what they did wrong.
no, they were totally like, there's no way they could have, because if you don't know what's wrong with the song they sang, like, if they really, unless they were like trying to antagonize people, which I don't think they were, because they looked blissfully happy singing their racist song.
They were all in white coats. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like, it's so bizarre. Like,
They were just like happily chanting.
yeah. But my partner was really embarrassed by me. Like, I felt I like felt ashamed for being myself, because he is such a peacekeeper. And I know that I embarrassed him. And so after, I just felt this extreme sense of guilt and honestly, like, frustration with myself that I let my anger get the best of me and I vocalized it. And then, but like, and the hardest part for me is, a lot of times when I do vocalize my anger, I really do believe what I'm saying. So there's not like regret all the time. The biggest piece of regret I had was like that I put him in a position where he felt uncomfortable, that could have been unsafe if they had retaliated to my words.
Let me share my opinion on
Yeah.
this. First of all, you were way too drunk. That's embarrassing in your shit show. Second of all, I honestly don't fucking care if you boo people at karaoke, because like, if you're getting up there and singing karaoke, like, that's a chance you're taking. I don't fucking care. You're choosing to be a performer. So you're like, this audience, did you really feel that safe to sing like a racist song in front of? Well, you should have known your audience better. Third of all, again, I would look around the room. I do this everywhere now.
Yeah.
If I don't see one person that looks different, or if I have to think to myself, would my daughter feel comfortable in this situation? Would a Black person or a person of any different race feel comfortable in this situation, which I assume the Irish bar was all white people?
Yeah.
That's probably not your scene. But second of all, or I'm like on eighth of all, I don't even know. I would ask myself that question. I would also be like, so I think you picked a bar poorly. That's number one. I think you got too drunk. That's number two. I don't think that standing up and saying like you guys suck is bad. Honestly, because white people can do it and Black people can't. And my thing is, it's our responsibility to say something. Would I have gone in around like how you did it? Would I do it the same way? No. I probably would have gone up to the bartender and said, this is a really inappropriate song. Shame on you guys. You should take this off the list.
Mm-hmm.
I would have said something like that. And I might have flicked him with the bird like as I walked out.
Yeah.
I might do something like that, because we are rageful Scorpio risings.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have confronted the people.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's anyone that can confront someone, it is a white person. So if you want to see change in the world, you do need to be vocal. And yeah, we're women, so we're a little bit more vulnerable. And we're in Florida, where people open carry guns, which is probably a little scary too when people are intoxicated.
Yeah.
But in terms of men, like white men, I'm so disappointed when they don't use their voice, because they have a voice to use and they get the respect that they need. And I think it's their responsibility, honestly. And I think it's white women's responsibility too. Granted, yeah, you can't really fight and like you don't have a gun, type thing. But I do think it was your responsibility to say something. I don't think you had to say, fuck you. I don't agree with how you went about it.
Yeah.
But I am so like of the mindset of, again, like, you don't need to be a people pleaser. You don't need to go with the crowd. We are Aquarius. We do not go with the crowd.
Yeah.
We have never gone with the crowd. I think to a certain degree. And, like even in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that I don't really care. I don't think it matters what you did. I think also they were unscathed. I think you were unproductive.
I mean, exactly. What I did didn't do. There was nothing. There was no added value to what I did. It's just I got anger out that I was like withholding inside.
These random people.
And these random people for singing their stupid racist song.
The thing is, they were probably unfazed. They didn't get
I know.
And got drunk. That's why I'm like, I would have handled it differently than you. But
totally.
I don't think what you did was necessarily like, to me, I feel like it's a responsibility.
So the next day, continuing the story, because I felt so, I felt I honestly just felt bad for my partner. I didn't feel bad for the people. I didn't feel embarrassed because, like, I saw when you boo people, everybody in the bar turns to look at you. Like,
It was that loud?
yeah.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I
God,
wasn't
I
doing this
just
shit for
imagine
nothing.
I imagine your face and it's not an attractive one. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, but like, again, I'm not doing this shit for nothing. If it's coming out of my mouth, everybody's hearing me. I did not agree with this situation, and I should have just left, to be honest. Anyways, so the next day, outside of, I woke up at like 7 in the morning and went on a walk and just walked and walked and walked until I felt like I had clarity on like what my feelings were. Um, and I finally got there. But then when I got back to my partner, we ended up driving back down to downtown St. Augustine, and we parked. The only parking available was a church parking lot that was charging $20 to park. So we're like, oh, let's just park at the church. And there's a sign when we park that says like parking attendant will be back, wait here. Or no, it was like wait until parking attendant gets back. Anyways, we went ahead and parked, and then we stood by the sign to wait for the parking attendant to get back. Well, when she returned, she was like, are you serious? Like, did you read the sign? Can you read? And then
oh
and
my
then and then my
god.
partner was like, he literally read the sign. Like he was like, oh yeah, it says blah 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 blah. And then she was like, exactly. And what did you do? And we're like, what are you talking about? We're waiting here with $20 like to pay you. And she like continued being rude to us about like, well, you didn't do it right. And I was like, well, the sign doesn't say like stay in your vehicle. It just says like wait here. And then finally we are like, do you not want us to pay you? Do you not want $20? But when we walked away and like he kept it together and paid her and we went on with our day, I was like, the I mean, I wish people could understand. People that have anger inside of them could. What I went through to withhold from what I wanted to say was that was such a valid like effort on my part, and we walked away and I was like, not today, Satan. It's
You were
not,
like, I
you're not
just
going to get
embarrassed our
me.
family.
Yeah, like I'm literally on, the hangover aftermath of the night before where I yelled at people for being racist.
But
And then
there's like a difference between like being a people pleaser. Like the next day you're like, I didn't bitch a woman out in church because I'm not, or like I was trying to be polite. But if you were a people pleaser, you would have been, I don't know.
well, so when we
I'm
walked
not saying you need to be rude to people that are rude to you, but I would have probably said like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Are you having a rough day?
I think it was so bizarre. Her attitude towards us was so bizarre.
You know that you only receive energy that you put out.
Well,
Maybe she was you, yeah, last night.
maybe,
She
maybe.
was the boo fuck you to you.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, and but like again, it's just I just want to say that I am a work in progress. I'm trying, and like it's very hard for me not to say my opinion. Like I think I'm the opposite of a people pleaser sometimes.
I think that you're most I was talking to mom about this because I talked to her about your
situation. Yeah,
because everybody knows if somebody tells me something, I'm gonna tell my mom.
for sure.
Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell Katie if my mom tells me something. It works both ways.
Yeah.
But you at your most authentic have always been comfortable speaking your voice against the grain. Because when we were little kids, like I'm talking elementary school, Katie would tell people like, I don't fucking like that. Or like she'd be like against the grain and I'd be more the people pleaser where I'd be like, Katie, I want friends, so let's be nice. Katie didn't have a lot of friends because she would be so vocal and opinionated. And then when we got into middle school and high school, she kind of learned to reserve that because she learned, oh, people aren't going to like me if I'm like vocal.
Mm-hmm.
And I always was naturally a people pleaser. It's probably something to do with our family dynamic, but you were more of like a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are your most unhealthy, you are very like not you.
That
you
side,
are
like,
very, very subdued. Like you don't speak your mind. It is very authentic for you to speak your mind. You've always had an easier time not being a people pleaser, and I think that that is something that I really think people admire about you to some extent. Like whenever you would just do your own thing on holidays, I was always like, how is she doing her own thing? Like we have to be doing this. But you had it figured out before I had it figured out. So I think that even when you told me the story of you saying "boo fuck you," I was just like, "That's Katie." Like I
I
don't know
think
what to
it's just
say.
like I know I do actually have self-awareness, believe it or not, and I know that that piece of me is jarring, but I also know that that is me. Like that is my I don't know. I just that's who I am.
I
I
think
speak my
I
mind.
truly think that because I'm your twin, I'll always support you, and sometimes you are a little aggressive,
Yeah.
but I do think we need personalities like that in the world because I think that they make people think about things. And there's a lot of people like me who didn't feel comfortable being always so bold. And I think I'm really getting there. This podcast has been so helpful for that.
I think so. And I
Mm-hmm.
honestly, so because I know that I have the side of me that's always going to say like what I'm
We
thinking.
should
Maybe
name this
am
side of you.
I like on the spectrum?
No,
I don't yeah.
I literally think that all the time. But would that mean that we both are?
I don't know. But
We're not
there
going to put labels. We don't need
yeah, we
labels.
don't need labels, but I there's the side of me that's always going to speak my mind on certain situations, and I think that the people that appreciate like clarity and like knowing like they're going to get me face value, there's not much you have to think about. Like I'm not going to pretend to be anything I'm not. I'm not going to pretend to like something that I don't like. Like you're going to get me face value. I think there's respect there, but I know growing up as a child because I was very vocal in my home even about my opinions, I felt sometimes unlovable because people don't like hearing it. You know, like people don't want to hear stuff they don't want to hear. And I'm not even saying I'm always right because they're probably wrong half the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I'm always going to speak from my perspective and be very blunt and honest about it. But because of that, when this situation happened at the whatever karaoke, you know, and after the fact, I felt like, oh, I embarrassed my partner and I felt shame around that. All I, child Katie and inner Katie, wanted was to feel loved and accepted in that moment because I know that it's so easy to not love and accept a person like that. I've always
Yeah.
felt it when
I
I
mean,
was
and also, like, I think as a child, I saw how you were like that, and I saw how it disappointed people or made people angry.
yeah.
So I chose to do the opposite and, like, just be overly people pleasing and overly, like, kind and accommodating and all this stuff. And it worked for me because I liked being, like, the what most well behaved. I
Like the
like being the
golden
yes, I
child.
like that. I love that.
Yeah.
And then God forbid I marry someone who's exactly like that. Like we both liked that. We fed off of it.
Mhm.
And so I feel like when you start changing your people pleaser ways, you do for the first time ever receive like, oh, you're not the golden child. Oh, you're not the one that makes everyone happy and stuff like that. But you start actually feeling 100% better on your own self-worth.
Yeah.
Like the love comes from within, not from outside.
So it reminds me of Ellen Pompeo from Grey's Anatomy has this interview where she says, when you stand up and speak your mind or stand up for something, don't expect anybody to be by your side because, and you'll have to look for the interview, but like she was like,
I've seen this,
but
yeah.
she's like, everybody, my closest people around me, when I'd stand up and speak my mind and stand up for what I felt was right, they're not by your side. It's crickets. Like a lot of times you're going to be standing alone and you have to trust in yourself and the authentic version of you, like if it's something we're speaking about that you're going to be okay doing it by yourself
Yeah.
because it's very hard. It's one of the most challenging things I must imagine for people to do something that the general public might frown upon.
You know me. I mean, I was such a people pleaser. Even to get my first tattoo, I
Oh my
loved
god,
it. But
yeah.
afterward, I like cried and was like, Mom and Dad are going to be so disappointed in me. I was 30 fucking 5 years old,
And
you
I
guys.
was like, I don't
You were like, wow, I didn't know it
no,
was that
but it
bad.
made me very sad for you because I was like, I can't believe that you've been people pleasing for this long, like to the point that you don't do stuff that you'd thoroughly enjoy because you're so afraid what other people will think. It made me very sad for you, but it was a really good first step.
I remember you looked at me and you're like, wow, you have deeper problems than I even knew. Like, you were like,
Yeah.
this is insane that you care so badly about what people think you're putting on your own body.
It's your body.
And I think, honestly,
Yeah.
and when we talked about tattoos last week, where I'm like, they both came kind of from trauma. Like, me and my husband got
Yeah.
matching tattoos. part of it was like being like, fuck it, like we've wanted to do this, like we don't care what anyone thinks. Why the fuck should you care? You're 36 years old. But we
Yeah.
were that bad. We were that bad of people pleasers that we really cared
Yeah.
what other people thought, which is that's so unhealthy.
I think you just have to like be okay with making choices that completely align with who you are. And like, of course, you need to understand who you are to make those choices. Like, until you know who you are, then like you might not make the best choices.
But I think from anyone who's dealing with people pleasing, and like, I think the first sign, or like a good sign that you have that like you need to change your ways, is like just where it becomes like really unhealthy. Like when you're hanging out with people or doing things for other people, and every single time you do it, your cup is not full, you're feeling ucky, or you're like even kind of feeling guilt around like this one against myself, or this wasn't in my best self-interest.
Yeah.
Like recognize that in yourself. And second of all, when you do start kind of saying, oh no, we're going to do this, or standing up for yourself a little bit more in situations and what feels right to you, just honestly be prepared to kind of receive the negative feedback. And I think evaluate that eventually to be like, is this the right people I need to be surrounding myself with? Because the people that love you don't fucking care. You know, they're like proud of you. Like they should, like,
And
like Katie, when I got my tattoo, she's like, I'm so proud of you. Like,
I was so proud of you.
yeah, exactly. And I think, but the more that you practice it, and even in the littlest things, the more you practice, like not being a people pleaser, or like saying what's right for you, the easier it gets. And honestly, to the point where last year, Katie was, and my mom, they both said, you need to be okay with like being the bad guy sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody's going to like you all the time. And, you know, that's okay. And I was not used to that. I don't like being the bad guy in situations. I would do fucking anything to be the good guy in all situations. But now, after I've practiced like basically standing up for myself so much, start little, then go bigger. Then now I look back at people pleasing and I'm like, what a disservice to yourself. And also, what a fuck, like honestly, what
a waste of time.
But like also like useless human being.
Yeah.
Like I don't mean to be mean, but like if you are people pleasing to the extent to just stay within like the limits of a friendship or a family, you are not contributing to this earth.
I honestly believe that you cannot escape this life without being the bad guy in somebody's story.
Oh my God.
Like, there's no way you're going to be the bad guy in somebody's story for whatever reason there is. And like,
but at least if you're going to go down that way regardless, go down knowing you made every single decision aligned with your heart and values.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because then you can sleep at night and be like, we're different, but I'm happy with myself, and I love myself more that I make good decisions now for myself.
Yeah. I was upset with myself for drinking and getting angry and putting my partner in that situation, but I wasn't upset with the words I said. I hate to say it. I wasn't. I would say them today. I would say that if I saw those people at breakfast, I'd say it to them. You know, like,
oh my God,
I am who I am. I'm sorry.
I know you are who you are. I love that you're like that. I just like in those situations, I do think you just need to like think, is this productive? What could I do that would be more productive?
I'm definitely going to talk to my therapist about it.
Yeah, I think that should probably give you some good hints. I would have definitely talked to like the bartender or something.
I think realistically, I should have talked to the DJ and been like,
"Oh yeah, okay,
why is this song?" Yeah, totally, yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, if you're struggling with people pleasers, you are in good company. We love you guys all. We're getting close on time, but let's just end by saying, what's one thing that you're thankful for now that you've kind of like come out of that people pleasing era of your life?
So one thing I do think that is really positive about graduating from people pleasing, and I was just talking to my partner about this too, because we both like will look at very successful people and like, oh, what is it about them? Like, how'd they get there? But I do think that not people pleasing and being straight up and like a straight shooter and blunt and speaking your mind in situations, when that becomes a pattern for you, in my opinion, your life becomes better. And I think that however I continue to grow, and especially in the corporate workspace, I think that my honesty is valued. Like, I think it's when I meet somebody that's just honest, I'm like, they're not schmoozing me. They're not trying to make things sound better than they are. We can actually get to the root of the problem because you're being so honest right now. I value that character so much, but I see how it's valued as well. I see how it's benefited me to be that way. And I would just encourage people to, like, don't worry about the judgment. Like, be honest, because realistically, it's incredibly refreshing. And I think you'll be rewarded for it. I know you will, because I've seen it.
It's funny because I feel like I always was the type of person that was like, kill them with kindness, just go, always choose the high road.
Yeah.
Kindness. And that in the workplace for us, actually, I mean, it worked. I was decently successful, but I think I got pigeonholed into like kind of an airhead.
Yeah.
And like, so I do think in certain respects, once you see you have your own self-worth enough to know like, oh, okay, I can like go against this, and like I have high self-worth, other people have it for you too.
Yeah.
They give you that respect back.
1,000.
So that's just a reminder to any young girls working. But my thing, I want to say what I really value about people, or not being a people pleaser anymore, is I think it's really improved my relationship with my husband, because like I said, we kind of did it together, where we're like, we need to do what's happy, like what makes us happy individually.
You work together to make that happen.
We really worked. Yeah. If you guys knew all of the story, it has been a journey. And my thing that I have to hope and pray it does is it allows my children to see, you don't need to sit in a room and put up with something, or you don't need to be any version of yourself but what's authentically you. Like, how you are and your beliefs are so beautiful and valuable. Don't people please to like just stay in a group.
And also, like, nobody wants to see a carbon copy of somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, like, my family is already not carbon copies.
I know.
My thing is, like, I hope for them they see my mom and dad, like, had certain morals they stuck to, and it's okay to, like, not always be liked, but you're still a good person, and I can show up that way, and I can stand up for myself. Because I don't know, I think that you and I were kind of raised more so, like, be convenient, and I don't want my kids to always feel like they have to be. I think that I want them to have a strong voice. Okay, so anyway, we're going to end the episode and with one mental health tip for this week.
Oh my God.
What do you want it to be? I'm going to say, I would say stand up for yourself this week.
I would say do not drink an entire bottle of wine and then go to karaoke.
Yeah.
That was a bad decision.
God, Katie, you went off your health journey.
You know what? No. I was tracking everything. I was just tracking it so I could have that bottle of wine.
Yeah. You don't need a whole bottle by yourself.
You don't need a bottle of wine before you go to karaoke.
Yeah. No.
That's probably not a good idea.
Yeah. But also just like be more conscious of the places you go. Like, is this going to align with me?
Who would have known? An Irish bar? Maybe it wasn't. Guys, I've never had problems in an Irish bar. Like, seriously. So.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's Sally. We're going to leave our story there for today and pick up next week on Twin Study After Dark. If you've enjoyed our podcast today, please rate, review, and subscribe. We'll meet again next week.